It's been just over a month since Liz Truss was appointed the UK Prime Minister. It's been quite an eventful month, and today was an eventful day to say the least. Less than 6 weeks into her premiership, Liz Truss has sacrificed her closest ideological ally to try and shore up her position. She has sacked the UK Chancellor, Kwasi Kwarteng. Jeremy Hunt has been appointed as the new Chancellor of the Exchequer. This comes after a controversial mini-budget, a bailout of pension funds and rising mortgage rates. Addressing a press conference, Liz Truss said that economy and growth have been her priority since day one. As expected, she announced another U-turn on the mini-budget, this time on the government's plan to scrap the planned rise in corporation tax from 19% to 25% next April.
We need to act now to reassure the markets of our fiscal discipline. I have therefore decided to keep the increase in corporation tax that was planned by the previous government. This will raise £18 billion per year. It will act as a down payment on our full medium-term fiscal plan, which will be accompanied by a forecast from the independent OBR.
Kwasi Kwarteng's stint as Chancellor was short and his rise to the position was swift. So it's been an eventful few weeks for him as well. Kwarteng was promoted to the position of Chancellor by Liz Truss on the 6th of September from his previous post as Business Secretary under Boris Johnson, and within 38 days, he has been sacked. He is the second shortest serving UK Chancellor on record now. The shortest serving Chancellor, Ian MacLeod, died of a heart attack 30 days after taking the job in 1970. Since 2019, the UK has seen 4 chancellors, including Nadhim Zahawi, who served the third shortest tenure with 63 days during a short-lived reshuffle under Boris Johnson, and Sajid Javid, who served 204 days. That's the 4th shortest tenure on record. Truss's cabinet is facing its biggest rumble as backlash over the mini-budget continues to escalate and leading to turmoil in markets and the UK economy. The government has been defending its mini-budget following major market turmoil since its announcement, along with a fall in the value of pound and the rise in cost of government borrowing and mortgage rates. One of the biggest critics of Truss's economic plan has been Rishi Sunak, who was her rival in the Conservative Party for 10 Downing Street. Rishi Sunak, the former UK Chancellor, had said that Truss's growth plan is an economic disaster. But will sacking Kwarteng work for Liz Truss? Remember, it was Liz Truss who promised most of these tax cuts during her leadership campaign. In the eyes of many MPs, she is as much to blame as the Chancellor. Reports say discussions at all levels in the Conservative Party are on about whether the Prime Minister can survive even if she has now replaced her Chancellor. Reports say rebel Tory leaders are plotting against Liz Truss to replace her as the party leader and Prime Minister with so-called Unity Joint Ticket Team involving Rishi Sunak. And with me on the broadcast this minute is our London correspondent Alex Isat, who has been tracking all of those developments very closely. Alex, what a day it's really been for the UK and what a month for Liz Truss. Now, at a time when Liz Truss has been facing that huge backlash over the mini-budget, she decides to remove Kwasi Kwarteng and bring in a new Chancellor. But that definitely does not take away from the fact that these decisions were hers as well. So whether or not she can survive this controversy remains to be seen. What are you picking up?
No, absolutely. The fact is that she needs to really pull out of a bag a strong performance following today's sacking of not just Kwasi Kwarteng, the Chancellor, but also Chris Philp, and moving some of her other Parliament cabinet members around. She really needs something strong to move forward, to stop all of that fighting and to unify her own party. Now, choosing Jeremy Hunt was a very interesting choice because he did back Rishi Sunak for the leadership when they were at the hustings, and it was said just when she was putting her cabinet together that maybe she should take some of those members that did back Sunak and bring them into her own cabinet and keep the enemies closer, and she refused to. She was on her own path and she was very determined to get what she wanted out of her own cabinet. She wanted those policies, she wanted those changes, she wanted low tax, and then it all came and bit her right back. We've already had one U-turn, now we have a second U-turn, and the markets have been volatile, and they've been volatile ever since we had the mini budget, but they were starting to see the volatility and the bit of a spooked market even before that budget came out, because it was not really quite clear where the money that was coming from to put all of her policies into place. She was talking about borrowing billions and billions of pounds, and a lot of finance companies suggested that either she really does need to sort out her taxes and raise them, or look to have a huge black hole, and that will come back to the UK public. And of course they're already facing cost of living crisis, and they don't really need an extra burden on them as well. So whether or not Liz Truss does end up succeeding and keeping her leadership title will be seen probably when we have October 31st and we're getting the next fiscal review.
All right, and Alex, let's just break down for our viewers why this mini budget has led to this major shuffle and a major controversy that the Prime Minister is currently grappling with. And the markets have been reacting sharply as well.
So when the mini budget came out, it was basically a complete change to the way that the government has worked previously. It was talking about borrowing money, it was talking about changing the way that our taxes are implemented for a whole range from low to high earners to corporation tax. The mini budget really did focus on this economic growth, as they kept telling us, but it was mostly for the bankers, and it was for out of the country sources to come and buy new houses and to start building within the country itself. And that's when it speaks to a lot of people, because it seemed to be that they were taking away from what actually is needed, and that is to make sure that inflation remains low and then we don't come into another recession, which was already a worry. And then the Bank of England stepped in as we saw the markets drop and the pound fall, and then they started buying these gilts. Now that was also a real market for spooking the whole finance industry, because when we're looking to buy back some of those gilts where the pension pots were in, that does start to worry a lot of people. What about their pensions? What's happening for the future, for the long-term development? So it's all well and good that people was hearing economic growth, getting people in and getting businesses off the ground, but they were seeing that actually the country itself was failing to try and help the people on the lower end of the market. And then we saw obviously the mortgages were rising, some of the mortgages were taken away, and it just spiraled into a very downward spiral really, and that's where it all began for the end for the Chancellor, former Chancellor.
Right, we're leaving it there for the moment. Alex, thanks very much. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.